This is important to appreciate. Like when you build a factory, there's a certain capacity that you design to, and then it takes some period of time to actually achieve that capacity. So I would say it's probably about a year before we get to the 10 gigawatt hour annualized rate with the pilot plant. And this is just a pilot plant. The actual production plants will be more on the order of maybe 200 gigawatt hours, maybe more over time. And then long term, we're expecting to make on the order of 3,000 gigawatt hours or 3 terawatt hours per year. I think I think we've got a good chance of achieving this actually before 2030, but I'm highly confident that we could do it by 2030.
Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Jim N. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. With Elon's Battery Day claims in mind, today we got this from Tesla. Just built their 20 millionth 4680 cell at Giga Texas. That sounds great, but an arbitrary number doesn't really do us much good. So if we go back to June 16th this year, Tesla was at their 10 millionth 4680 cell, also from Giga Texas. So let's do some math and try to contextualize what's going on here and what this means. How well is Tesla progressing? The time between these most recent two updates was 118 days, or 3 months and 26 days for Tesla to make 10 million 4680 cells. Now, the only slight problem here is we really don't know definitively the breakdown of cell production in Austin versus at the pilot line in Cato Road. But I did check in with Jordan from the Limiting Factor, and we're going to go with these production milestones are from Austin alone for now, albeit without any official confirmation. We did cover the rumors that Cato Road was going to shut down for 3 months, possibly for upgrades, so there's a chance that Cato Road is not producing any 4680 cells right now. 10 million cells from Austin divided by 118 days is 84.7 thousand cells per day. If we multiply that by 365 days in a year, that would give us 30.9 million cells per year. Now, yes, I know there's downtime each year, but we're just looking for an estimated run rate. Then if we take that 30.9 million cells per year that Tesla may be capable of producing at its current rate, multiplied by 95 watt hours per cell, which would include the improvements that we just heard about on Tesla's Q2 call, that would give us 2.9 billion watt hours, and converting that's 2.9 gigawatt hours of an annual run rate, possibly from Giga Texas alone. Converting that one more time, that's 2.9 million kilowatt hours divided by, let's just say, 100 kilowatt hours for each Cybertruck pack, potentially. That would be in the neighborhood of enough cells for 29,000 Cybertrucks per year. However, we have to keep in mind that's not including any of the growth rates that are built into this ramp. Right now, we could estimate Tesla's 4680 production is growing in the neighborhood of 20% per month. And yes, this would be a great sign that could confirm Tesla is making enough 4680 cells in Austin to be able to close the pilot line at Cato Road for up to 3 months to make those upgrades, potentially for the new Cybercell. And given that we are not expecting any meaningful Tesla semi-production ramp for another year or so, Tesla seems to have more than enough 4680 production capacity to ramp the Cybertruck and maybe even use some cells for certain Model Y variants as well. Given that we're now about 3 years removed from Battery Day, yes, Tesla is still behind Elon's initial targets of that 10 gigawatt hour number that he was talking about just at Cato Road. Whereas now, if we took Giga Texas being around 3 gigawatt hours of an annual run rate, even if Cato Road was at a similar level, overall as a company, they would still be shy of that 10 gigawatt hour number per year. But honestly, is anybody really that surprised? You have to go back February 18th, 2022, when Tesla was celebrating their 1 millionth 4680 cell coming from the pilot line. Then, after this, it was 16 months to get to the 10 million cells produced mark. And finally, it was just under 4 months for another 10 million cells, which, yes, is the beginning of an exponential ramp. So right now, I'm fairly confident in saying 4680 cells should not be a limiting factor, hat tip to Jordan, for the Cybertruck ramp. I was at a wedding this past weekend and the cell service there was non-existent, so we all had to connect to the public guest Wi-Fi. Now, I always recommend using a VPN like Surfshark, the sponsor of this video, anytime you're using public Wi-Fi, but they can also be very useful at home as well. Nowadays, a lot of the popular online services that we all use are using very advanced commercial tracking and AI to create super targeted advertising, and others for more nefarious purposes. A VPN can protect you from some of that. Surfshark's Clean Web feature does a great job of blocking ads, trackers, and malware, making it much safer to use the internet even at home. Surfshark is a breeze to set up on any of your devices, both iOS and Android, Mac or PC. Surfshark is one of the only VPNs to offer one account for an unlimited number of devices. You can also make it look like your IP address is coming from a completely different country. This comes in handy if you want to stream a video that's only available in certain locations. You can head to surfshark.deals/electrified and use my code electrified to get 3 extra months for free. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you literally have nothing to lose. The link is in the description below. Another Tesla stock note from Morgan Stanley. They hosted a bull bear lunch with investors, and the sentiment around Tesla right now skews cautious. Many are wondering if Tesla can grow earnings at all next year. The impact of Dojo and AI is difficult to quantify and easy to ignore. Unanimous sentiment is that there is downside consensus earnings revision risk for the rest of this year. On the Cybertruck, there's very little enthusiasm on Tesla's next model. And what do you know, really not much interest in Dojo or Tesla's AI FSD efforts, as it's hard to predict the event path and hard to measure any improvement from FSD 12. The general concern is that Tesla's approach to autonomy is risky with respect to relying on passive camera relative to other FSD efforts. It might sound crazy to you, but this is all music to my ears, because the longer that Wall Street sleeps on all of these huge things going on beneath the surface at Tesla, the longer we can buy shares at a discount for the long term. And of course, when all of these waves end up breaking and playing out most likely how we think they're going to, it'll be that much sweeter to say yet again that Wall Street was terribly wrong. Something to keep an eye on over in France, there are some new rules for which automakers are going to qualify for their subsidies. As of yesterday, automakers will have to submit their specs for their EVs to the French authorities in the hope that they can continue to benefit from subsidies. This new scoring system is likely to rule out most models built in Asia, even if they are some of the most widely sold EVs in France. And yes, we know that Tesla's Model Y and Model 3 are some of the best-selling EVs in France, and they're also built in China, so we'll see how this is going to shake out for Tesla. Car producers should get a response around December 15th, and they can appeal any negative decision. And then, of course, today, the French Finance Ministry chimes in trying to bury the news. The ministry said most electric cars made in Europe, but also some made in Asia, will qualify for subsidies in France. We'll see. We have the robot report telling us that this company, Pulse, P-U-L-S, has acquired Wiferion, the wireless charging company, from Tesla. Yes, this is the company that Tesla just bought only a few months ago. According to a source with knowledge of both of these acquisitions, Wiferion's engineers will remain at Tesla. They are not included in the deal with Pulse. Wiferion's engineering team has vast experience in high-power wireless power transmission. Wiferion's current product line will continue under the Wiferion brand name for the immediate future. This now all of the sudden looks like an IP and talent type of acquisition for Tesla. You buy the company, grab what you want, and then sell the shell in a way. Last year, long before Tesla actually bought Wiferion, they entered into a licensing deal with Witricity for wireless charging intellectual property. I think plenty of folks out there thought this was definitely going to be for wireless charging for Tesla vehicles. It also really could have been more for factory purposes, for robots in the factory, maybe Optimus in the future, possibly for cars in the future as well. But Wiferion did talk a lot more about untethering robots to enable hands-free, unattended factories. So we're being told that Tesla gets to keep the Wiferion engineers at Tesla, and then I'm just speculating that maybe Tesla found a way to keep some of of that company's IP as well. Tesla Hong Kong posted that Asia's first V4 supercharging location is now open at Lee Garden. They did cite 250 kilowatt charging speed, so still no significant difference for V4 performance yet. However, given Tesla has been testing these V4 installs over in Europe, the fact that this is now rolling out more broadly globally is of course a great sign. Last night we got the news that Tesla is now going to start offering official wraps for the Model 3 and Y, but there are a lot of requirements and little fine print that you should know about. First though, for the options, you have 7 different colored PPF wraps: Glacier Blue, Forest Green, Satin Rose Gold, Slip Gray, Satin Ceramic White, Satin Stealth Black, maybe my favorite, and Crimson Red. The cost for these colored wraps is either $7,500 or $8,000. More on that shortly. You buy these wraps in the Tesla shop right through the Tesla app. It's a self-healing urethane-based film that protects the paint beneath from chips, scratches, and swirling. The purchase price includes the cost of materials and installation, but it's only at current participating Tesla service centers. They only have 2 listed and they're both in California. It's also only available for 2023 and newer Model 3 and Y vehicles, not available for the Model S or X. Now, they do also have a clear wrap option available for $5,000. And maybe it's just my internet, but you can check yours. It's now not working for me, so maybe they're not going to offer this. I'm not sure. Tesla's FAQ said whether you buy the clear wraps or the color wraps, installation time will vary. It may take 5 to 7 business days from the time you drop off your vehicle. In the event you can access the clear wrap page, you will see either gloss or satin. Yes, your vehicle can be wrapped even if it's under a lease. No loaner vehicles will be offered while your vehicle is getting wrapped. And yes, door jambs will be included for all of the color wraps, but not included for the clear wraps. A few words on the cost. 1, if you're going to try to compare apples to apples, you have to compare the cost in California. If you're anywhere else around the world, it's already not going to be apples to apples. Right now, Tesla is only offering this in California. Second, it appears Tesla is using a wet-based PPF or paint protection film, which has protection first in mind. Some people out there may be comparing with a vinyl wrap, which is a much cheaper material and it's a lot easier to wrap. The vinyl though is really just focused on aesthetics. It's not really focused at all on protection. It's also the colored PPF that can be harder to come by and has those self-healing properties, whereas vinyl does not. And make sure you're including the door jamb installation, so when you open the door of your Tesla, not only does the color transfer, but there's also protection there as well. I've read including the door jambs can jack up the cost because sometimes you actually have to remove the door and it's just a lot more laborious. So no, I'm not trying to argue this is somehow a screaming deal. I'm just trying to say that I think it's more in line with what you would get anywhere else than what some people are thinking. So far, I have not been able to find anything about an official warranty from Tesla for these wraps, but that's also something to keep in mind. And then yes, when it comes to the Cybertruck, this would be a great sign that maybe Tesla is doing a trial run with this entire process. If they can do it successfully on the 3 and Y, doing the Cybertruck should be a breeze. Speaking of, what's that we have here from TeslaScope, who I just said I think has a source at Tesla. They said Tesla will offer a Cybertruck wrap service with multiple choices within 6 months of the first customer deliveries. No price confirmations yet, but it's expected to be $8,000 to $12,000. For now, this is still a rumor, but given this Model 3 and Y news, this seems pretty likely. This is certainly one way to keep the paint shop to a minimum, which is typically a huge part of the manufacturing expense. Let's hear it though. What do you guys think? Elon has said that all Tesla superchargers in Israel are free. Not sure how long electricity will be available over there, but a classy move nonetheless. I thought this was such a great chart and a great reminder from James Stevenson. When everybody talks about Tesla's 50% growth rate, they really just go back to last year, do the times 1.5 and see if they're on track, but that's not how we should be doing it. Because Tesla told us over a multi-year horizon, we expect to achieve 50% average annual growth in vehicle deliveries. So what we need to do is start in 2020, and then the red number would be that hypothetical 50% growth rate. And the bars on this chart are what Tesla is actually doing each year, and the most recent one is going to be Q3, the trailing 12 months. As you can see, doing this math as we're supposed to, Tesla has been ahead of this pace for every year, and with 1 quarter left to get the full number for 2023, Tesla is already ahead of schedule. Tesla only needs to do 1.68 million cars sold this year to be ahead of that 50% average annual guidance starting from 2020. You should think about screenshotting this one because it comes up all the time and most people get it totally wrong. Sticking with sales, we got the export and domestic sales breakdown for Tesla China in September. 43.5 thousand EVs sold domestically. Listen, I just need to say it. Anybody that's still doing year-over-year comparisons and then running with that percentage trying to spin a narrative has no idea what they're talking about, because now all of our year-over-year comparisons are going to be skewed because Tesla has been focused on unwinding this delivery wave. Look at Q3 last year for Tesla's domestic deliveries. In the first month of the quarter, they did 8.4 thousand. In the third month, they did 77.6 thousand. And looking at Q3 this year, it's a much more even distribution when looking at month to month. So whether it's a bear trying to spin a number, or I bet a bunch of bulls would try to spin this number about exports being way up, it's just ridiculous and terrible analysis. Further than that, of this 43.5 thousand domestic number, 41,000 were Model Y. They only delivered about 2,000 Model 3s for the entire month domestically in China. Given that globally, Tesla delivered 435,000 vehicles in Q3, that means domestically in China, that market only represents about 32% of Tesla's global deliveries for the quarter. We should get the production numbers soon. And as Wu said in his most recent video, all of the new Model 3 production in China is still only delivering overseas, meaning it's for the export market, and there's no specific time for domestic deliveries. He said international roll-on and roll-off ships RoRo also appear frequently in the Shanghai South port. It's expected in the fourth quarter, Tesla will not only deliver the Model 3 refreshed edition in large scale, but also usher in a further increase in production capacity on the basis of the upgraded production line. So yes, Q3 is somewhat of a throwaway quarter for extrapolation purposes, but let's see what happens in Q4. I'll admit I'm a little skeptical of all these car awards nowadays because the more you read, the more you realize there are very few unbiased sources out there. Either way though, for the Car Buyer Best Car Awards 2024 UK edition, the best company car went to the Model Y. Tesla has taken the car market by storm with incredible efficiency, fantastic tech, and access to the all-conquering supercharger network. There's no better company car right now than the Model Y. Perhaps the biggest award though, the Car Buyer Car of the Year, went to BYD's Dolphin. It's really quite extraordinary how a brand you've never heard of, albeit one that sells millions of cars in its home market, can so drastically undercut the competition and still offer such a compelling package. The BYD Dolphin is not a cheap car, it's a great value car. There's a difference. Stellantis and Samsung are now talking about a second EV battery plant in Indiana. The two companies are investing more than $3.2 billion to build the new plant, which will open early 2027 and have an annual capacity of 34 gigawatt hours. This joint venture between these two companies is dubbed Star Plus Energy. The first EV factory from this Star Plus joint venture is in the same location. It's currently under construction, scheduled to open 2025. In total, these two factories will have 67 gigawatt hours of annual capacity. Let's drop in on the battery market for EV sales between January and August of this year. CATL and BYD make up 51% of the entire EV battery market. If there was ever one chart that encapsulated why the Inflation Reduction Act you could argue is necessary, I think this would be that chart. It's now official, Ford and Hyundai are now both customers of the Gigapress maker IDRA. A Gigapress 6100, which produces a clamping force over 6,000 tons, with the Ford brand printed on it, has been assembled and was being tested in one of IDRA's plants. An even bigger 9,000 ton press was also spotted testing nearby without a client's name on it, but a source spilled the tea and said that one was going to be shipped to Hyundai. However, a major disclaimer, they're saying both of these for Ford and Hyundai will initially be used only for R&D purposes. There's also an unnamed third automaker in Europe that's set to sign a supply contract for 2 9,000 ton presses. 6 gigapresses are now emerging as the standard for an annual production of 500,000 vehicles. They're saying IDRA has already shipped 14 presses to Tesla, including 2 9,000 ones for the Cybertruck. Look, I'm not expecting this to happen. I'm just saying there's a world where Ford, Hyundai, and the others struggle to get this past the R&D phase. Let's not forget, Tesla has its own special sauce when it comes to the material science and the custom alloy it's using for its Gigapress. Just wanted to make it clear this is not a situation where you buy one of these Gigapresses, you shoot some molten up in there, and you're off to the races. That's really not how it works. You may recall how we talked about the transferability and the direct pay for the investment tax credits and the production tax credits are game changers when it comes to clean energy. Before taking advantage of the ITC, you had to set up complicated tax equity joint venture partnerships between the developer and the tax equity buyer, which is usually a big bank. Basically, these were complicated and costly, so only really big projects could take advantage. But the new transferability provisions would allow developers to monetize the credits by selling them for cash without the need for complicated joint venture tax equity structures. Fast forward to now, and we have the first tax credit transfer claimed by this company Evergrow, and this situation should unlock billions. If the IRA legislation stays in place, this is potentially the beginning of a very huge deal that we'll hear very little about, but in the background, it's going to be spurring a lot of these green energy deals. A lot of people out there are talking about this recent poll. They only conducted it with 1,025 adults between September 29th and October 1st. The results, 57% of respondents said they were not likely to buy an EV the next time they buy a car. So you can go ahead and try to spin that negatively, but it also leaves 43% that said they might or they're undecided. In the US, we're still sitting at about 7% of new car sales that are EVs. So 43% of these respondents, if that was extrapolated to the population at scale, is plenty enough demand for the next few years. I'll keep saying it, we just need more affordable options to choose from. Of those who said they would not buy an EV, 70% of those over age 65 would not, along with 60% of people that had an annual income below $50,000. It's good to hear what people outside of our echo chamber are saying. 70% of them were worried about the overall cost, 73% were concerned about range, 77% lack of charging stations. Redwood Materials has created a new portal where you can go in, put in some information, and get an instant offer for your end-of-life EV battery pack. Now, right now, the portal is only for certified auto dismantlers, but it's always cool to see the future being pushed ahead in real time. Don't forget, check out Surfshark linked below. Go grab those 3 free months. Thanks in advance if you do. Also, don't forget, no video from me Thursday or Friday. If you missed why, go see yesterday's video. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X linked below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.